You probably know this about this story. A ship called the Mayflower, a hard winter, a shared harvest meal, pilgrims, and the Wampanoag. Turkey, stuffing, maybe a little cranberry sauce. But what if I told you that story, it's only one thread in a much bigger and messier tapestry? What if the first American Thanksgiving didn't happen in Plymouth at all? What if the holiday we know today was literally moved for retail profits? And what if, for some Americans, Thanksgiving is not a celebration but a day of mourning? Let's walk through a few lesser-known stories of Thanksgiving, and maybe by the end, you'll see this holiday a little differently. Let's start before Plymouth. Most of us were taught that the first Thanksgiving happened in 1621 in Massachusetts, a harvest feast between English settlers and the Wampanoag. And that did happen, but it wasn't the first of its kind, not even close. Try Florida in 1565. Spanish settlers land in St. Augustine, and they hold a Catholic Mass of Thanksgiving and share a meal with the local Timucua people. Or Virginia, 1619. English colonists at a place called Berkeley Hundred hold a Thanksgiving prayer service, one they're instructed to keep yearly and perpetually. So, why don't we hear those stories? Well, the Berkeley settlement didn't last. It was attacked and abandoned in 1622. And the Spanish Thanksgiving in Florida sat far outside the Protestant New England story that came to define America's origin myth. And over time, the Plymouth version just won out, partly because New England became the center of English language publishing, and partly because it told a cleaner story, one of piety, of perseverance and peace. But what we call the first Thanksgiving wasn't the only one. It was a chosen one, and that choice left a lot out. Now fast forward 3 centuries. It's the 1930s. The Great Depression is still dragging on. FDR is president. Retailers are desperate for a longer Christmas shopping season. So, in 1939, FDR moves Thanksgiving up 1 week. Instead of the last Thursday in November, it's now the second to last. The backlash is immediate. Some states follow the president and others refuse, like daylight savings time. Schools are confused, football games are rescheduled, and families are split over this. So people start calling it Franksgiving. Within about 2 years, Congress steps in, and in December of 1941, they pass a law making the 4th Thursday in November the official federal Thanksgiving, starting in 1942. And that's where it still sits. So even the date of Thanksgiving is not sacred, and it's not fixed. It was moved for shopping season logistics, and for commerce and pressure on those buyers. It's not necessarily wrong, but it reminds us that our national traditions are shaped and edited and sometimes sold to the highest bidder. And then there's 1970, the 350th anniversary of the Mayflower's landing, and Massachusetts plans a celebration in Plymouth, and they invite a Wampanoag leader. Wamsuta, Frank James was the name, and they wanted him to speak. He accepts and writes a speech, but when organizers read it, it's a speech about betrayal and disease and broken promises, and they tell him to rewrite it, and he refuses. And instead, Native leaders gather across town on Coles Hill, and they hold their own event. They call it the National Day of Mourning. And they've returned every Thanksgiving since. It's not about hating the holiday. It's about telling the full story, not just the feast, but the aftermath. The treaties that were broken, the land that was taken, the trauma that was carried across generations. And for many Native Americans, Thanksgiving isn't just complicated, it's very painful. But they still show up so that they can speak and they can invite others to listen. So what does all this tell us? Well, for one, that Thanksgiving isn't carved in stone. It's been reimagined, protested, commercialized, politicized, and it holds both grace and grief, commerce and memory, stories of welcome and erasure. But that's what makes it powerful, I think, because a real civic tradition doesn't have to be perfect to be meaningful. That's what we're getting wrong with the ban on textbooks and stories these days. The story just has to be honest, and it has to grow. So this year, as you pass the mashed potatoes, remember, there's more on the table than just food. There are stories. Some that are shared, some that have been or are trying to be silenced. Maybe try this. Bring up one of the stories you heard today and ask what others were taught. Go ahead and listen and see what happens. If you want more history like this, I hope it feels layered, sometimes uncomfortable, but always very human. Please hit subscribe and tell me in the comments what part of the Thanksgiving story do you think we've been missing. I'll see you in the next one.